Alright, what's going on, guys? We are now in the home stretch, getting close to entering the single-digit days until the release of Shadow of the Erdtree. So time is very quickly running out to get ready and make sure that your character is fully prepared to jump into the land of Shadow. So today I want to go over a lot of things that you're probably not thinking about that can make a pretty big difference in your playthrough to get the most out of your day one journey. But first, let's talk about the elephant in the room: spoilers and the early previews of the DLC. Now, at the time of me recording this, the previews have just dropped. However, to me, there are very few things that come close to the experience of a day one FromSoftware release, and that first blind playthrough is something you can never get back. So I'm choosing not to engage in spoilers because I don't want to see them, and therefore my videos until launch will be spoiler free, including this one. And pretty much everything we're going to cover today does not rely on having any new information, so this list is good for everybody, whether you watch the previews or not. But of course, as we begin today, if you want to stay on the hype train for Shadow of the Erdtree, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and now let's get into it. Now, I'm sure you all are well aware of the basics to do. Things such as get all the bell bearings, powerful talismans, larval tears, and things like that. But I want to focus on the unconventional things, starting off by talking about NPCs. Now, Miyazaki did say that we wouldn't find NPCs in the base game that would appear in the DLC, as to not cause continuity issues by accidentally killing the NPCs before they can be found in the Land of Shadow. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure I believe that fully, mainly due to two NPCs in particular, Gideon and Melania. If you want to get the most out of your first playthrough, these are characters you need to consider leaving alive. The stories of both of these characters are deeply intertwined with Miquella's story. Gideon is completely obsessed with finding and learning more about Miquella, even to the point of slaughtering the Albinoric village to find the half of the Hidetaka medallion. And of course, Melania's connection needs no explanation, as she has dedicated her life to serving Miquella and sleeps beneath the Hidetaka awaiting his return. Now, given that the DLC is primarily about following in Miquella's footsteps and uncovering the mystery about him, I simply cannot believe that there will be no at least new mention or new interaction with these characters, given the context of having played the DLC and interacted with Miquella firsthand. To me, that would be even more of a continuity issue than just a character dying too early. And even so, it wouldn't be the first time a character just respawns. Look at the lore of Blythe and Malekith. Thinking they could potentially go as far as an alternate cutscene, so personally I'm not even going to start the boss fight until after I've already beaten the DLC, given that this is something they've done in the past in Dark Souls 1. Now, I'm also going to keep Melina around, just because I still have a lingering hope that she will make another appearance in the DLC, or again have some kind of new interaction, even though I will concede that the chances of that are very slim. But it's a hope and chance nonetheless. Now, these aren't confirmed or even hinted at that we'll get new interactions with these characters, but it's a measure I'm taking just in case FromSoftware cooked up some little Easter eggs, and some of you may want to do the same. Let's talk about a system I guarantee everybody completely forgot about: groups. When you go into the DLC for the first time, you'll want to be in a group. Now, if you're like me and forgot all about these, let me give you a little refresher. As you play through your journey in Elden Ring, having a group password can get you a lot of benefits. One of the main things it does is prioritize multiplayer functions from players also using that group password, which naturally makes those functions more helpful for you, as naturally you won't get as many trolls, since other people are also trying to gain from being in that group. But on a much more practical level, whenever someone also using that group password achieves a goal in a game, such as beating a shard bearer or becoming the Elden Lord, you get a reward. That reward being a passive buff to all runes dropped, like the gold pickled foulfoot. So when you get a big enough group, this buff is going to be going on the majority of the time you're playing. It's essentially a free passive buff. And since you can be in up to 5 groups at a time, you can see how this can be active for a very long time. So going into Shadow of the Erdtree, our channel here will have the group password Zio, all lowercase, just ZIO. That way we can all help each other level up much faster and get more rewards while we're playing. But on a little side note, another thing you'll likely forget to do while you're playing the DLC is leave messages. And these are a fantastic way to save your life in a sticky situation, because when your message gets rated, your health gets healed all the way back up. And if your message is particularly popular, then that's going to save your life quite often. I know it's happened to me more than a handful of times. So these two little things that require almost no time can help you significantly while playing through the DLC. And as simple as they might be, they're equally easy to forget about. Now we mentioned at the beginning that you already know to collect all the bell bearings, specifically the ones for smithing stones. But what those bell bearings can't get you are the ancient dragon smithing stones and the ancient somber smithing stones, which are necessary to fully upgrade a weapon. Now, given that new weapons are one of the highlights of the DLC, and there are only a limited number of the top grade of smithing stone per playthrough, then we need to talk about how you can get the most so that you can fully upgrade all these new weapons that you want to try out. Now, for each playthrough, you can get a total of 13 ancient dragon smithing stones and a total of 8 somber ancient dragon smithing stones. And chances are, in the playthrough that you're going to be starting the DLC, you've already used some of these. So you need to know where to get these. For the regular ancient dragon smithing stones, one is obtained by completing Nefeli Lu's questline, and another if Gostok is still alive at that point. One is gained from completing Jaren's questline, another after giving Garong all 9 death root, one in the mountaintops of the giants on top of the skull near the Church of Repose, 2 in the consecrated snowfield, one of which is from the dual Knight Rider boss fight, and the other in Yellow Annex Tunnel, 3 in Faramazula, the first of which is dropped by the first ancient dragon you fight, the second found throughout the level, and the third dropped by another ancient dragon, the stationary one that rains red lightning, before the drop to the Placidusax boss fight. And then the final 2 are found in the Hidettree before reaching Elphael. For the somber ancient dragon smithing stones, one is dropped by Anastasia the Tarnished Eater after her invasion in the consecrated snowfield, and the second in this area is gained by completing Latina's quest. One can be found in Mogwin Palace, in the chest outside Mog's boss room. There are 3 of them in Elphael, 2 of which are found through exploration, and the third after completing Millicent's quest and obtaining Mikola's Needle. One can be found in Lanedale Ashen Capital after climbing up the dragon, and then the final one is found in Faramazula, in the gazebo behind the stationary dragon outside Placidusax's boss entrance. Now here's a very simple thing you can do before the DLC drops to save you some time in the long run. Since the DLC is going to be introducing several new remembrance bosses, one thing you may want to do in preparation is activate all the walking mausoleums. Now I'm sure everybody already knows this, but these mausoleums can be used to duplicate remembrances so that you can get both items that remembrance offers. Now one distinction that you can make between the mausoleums is that the mausoleums without bells underneath them cannot duplicate remembrances of the shard bearers. All the ones with bells can. And again, I'm sure you all know how to knock them down by hitting the skulls off their feet, but the important thing here is that these mausoleums can only be used to duplicate remembrances 1 time each, and there are a total of 7 in the game. So what you need to do in preparation is figure out which mausoleums you have not used so that you can use them for the remembrances in the DLC. And to save the time, go ahead and knock them down. And since we know FromSoftware like to go all out with their DLC weapons and spells, you're going to want to make sure you have at least a few mausoleums available. Now the final thing I want to leave you off with, in addition to collecting all the bell bearings, all the talismans, and things that should be obvious enough if you're trying to min-max your experience, the one thing that the majority of people are going to forget to collect are cookbooks. Yes, believe it or not, Elden Ring does have a crafting system. I know, I've never used it either. But as easy as it is to forget, the items you can craft are actually super useful. Whether it be elemental pots or buffs for your weapons, the foul foots that can increase rune drops or item drops, arrows if you're one of the few that uses bows in this game, or curatives, you can save yourself a lot of headache by remembering that these items are at your disposal. And one thing we oftentimes forget is that bosses have weaknesses, ones that can seriously turn the tide of the fight. For example, sleep pots against the godskins. Some of the hardest fights in the game become a cakewalk when you exploit their weakness. So if you want to be fully prepared, go through the game and buy all the cookbooks or find them throughout the world so that you can have every option at your disposal. But these are 5 things that a lot of people are going to forget about going into the DLC that you need to remember if you want to be fully prepared. Of course, everybody already knows the obvious preparation measures, such as killing Radahn and Mohg, getting all the bell bearings and talismans, or just generally collecting every item in the game, but I wanted to highlight things that most people probably aren't thinking about so that we can all get the most out of it. But if you have another step that you think other people should do to prepare for the DLC that we didn't talk about in this video, be sure to leave it down in the comments section below. With all that though, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here, and I will catch you in the next one.